I Yeah, no, I feel like there's actually a lot to say in this video, but I think the first bit that I'm going to start off with is talking about the video topic a bit before I get into my personal life updates. So I had a completely different video idea to have filmed for this video, but I ended up watching The Little Prince a few days ago, which brought me to a different video idea outline that I did that I had to add a bit more to because of like what came up in my brain while I was watching The Little Prince. And the other thing that came out of me watching that movie was also wanting to go see the statues of the Little Prince and the Fox in Busan myself. So, yep. But that other video also needed me to go through all of my all of the videos I've already uploaded, at least recently, to see whether what I have brought up within those videos, and I completely forgot to do that. As for the video topic itself, I hope you've read the title. I don't feel like an adult, and I believe I don't feel like an adult for a multitude of reasons. One of my great feats of at least this month is completing a game. Not 100%ing completing, I'm not at that level yet, but completing from start to finish a game that was very difficult for me to do. Basically, I did not have the ability to be consistent when it came to playing video games. So a lot of the video games that I played, I haven't really been able to finish. Even though one specifically that I actually did like, I don't think I finished them. So one, I've actually finished the game, and I am still kind of playing it because the sequel to the game is said to be way more difficult for several reasons, and yes, I am very much scared about that. That is my little whimsy win for this month, by the way. But yeah, from a general perspective, me not feeling like an adult makes sense. We as the younger generations, that would essentially be Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are growing up and maturing in very unprecedented times. And like a lot of us had essentially became proper adults during the pandemic. While we as the younger generation are privileged with a bunch of other things, there are some things that I find to be very foundational that we don't really have 100% access to anymore, for several different reasons. We as a society don't really have the time nor the money at this point to be properly taking care of ourselves. Essentially, with the workforce in and of itself forcing people to become workaholics or to take on several different jobs just to survive. We don't really have full communities the way that people used to. Then again, that's due to several other things and not just. So a lot of us are having to figure out so much on our own. And the milestones are, again, foundational things for becoming an adult seem more like pipe dreams, or just non-essential. Case in point, I don't like the taste of alcohol. I barely like the taste of coffee. Because of the fact that I don't really like the taste of alcohol, and I don't really like being around a bunch of people and loud music. I have no plans on going out to bars and clubs. Okay, it's that and the fact that like I don't feel the need to go out of my way to socialize. I don't own a house. I don't have a job that actually pays. And I don't have children. Nor do I want any. Complete side note, but I think one of the things I can honestly be thankful my family wasn't pushing me for is for me to have kids. In fact, they were kind of pushing me against the idea of having kids. Like I wanted any to begin with. And you know, that kind of made me feel like I was failing at life. As I said earlier, there are a lot of what I believe to be foundational milestones that mark becoming an adult that I have yet to meet. And then I watched the movie The Little Prince, and my perspective has been slightly changed. So the movie itself is mainly about this young girl and her mom who is trying to work towards getting into this specific school. I don't know why. I thought they would tell us eventually. Plan A apparently didn't really work because the girl kind of froze up when asked a completely different question than what she practiced. And so plan B, according to the story, is her mother basically planning out her entire summer down to the second to prepare her for actually going to this school. So they end up moving to a house that has an aviator, a former pilot, who just seems like a kooky old man to begin with. But a kooky old man who apparently loves making stories to help handle his own loneliness. That's about as much as I'm going to say about this before I go off into a completely different tangent than what I already did earlier. One of the things I got out of that movie was this kind of understanding that when it comes to growing up, you tend to lose that connection you have with a lot of things that are essentially deemed inessential. You lose your ability to be curious because nothing can be left to chance. And it reminded me of how growing up I kept dealing with a bunch of adults complaining about their life choices, about what they're having to deal with at work, about having to deal with the children that they have, and the other parent generalization. And it's like, one of the things I was thinking when I was a child, because I was questionably solution oriented, was that I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to find myself complaining about things if I can't do anything, unless I can't do anything about it. I didn't want to find myself complaining about the same things I grew up hearing adults complain about. And as much as my life did not go the way that I originally thought it would have, I can honestly say I am not actually complaining about a lot of the things that grown-ups at that time were complaining about. I did not make the same choices. In fact, I made different ones, which meant different outcomes for me, which means I get to complain about other things. And out of everything else, I was reminded that whimsy really does matter, because it allows you to see the magic in the world. Whimsy and magic allows you to handle uncertainty from a more secure space, both in your mind and in your heart. And a lot of the time, when we grow up, we lose that whimsy to everyday life and basically having to survive in such a society. So me not feeling like an adult for several reasons makes sense. But I'm just now getting to understanding maybe that was a good thing. Because the examples of adults that I grew up with made it seem like being an adult sucked. And to some extent, yeah, it does. It kind of still does. But you still get to choose exactly how much being an adult sucks and what you're willing to do about it. Yeah, that's about it for this video. Not me completely forgetting how I end my videos. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, one of the things I made as my main focus this year is to prioritize whimsy in my life. And something else that I ended up having to learn so I can actually do that is that I have a tendency to have downward spirals due to negative, I want to say negative thoughts, negative intrusive thoughts. And so one of the things that I've learned when it came to that is some of these are not worth digging further into because it's just going to make things worse for me. But you can't just simply ignore them. You have to address the fact that they exist and then move on. So hopefully, if you also felt like you didn't feel like an adult, maybe you don't, and maybe at least you don't feel alone in that, because I know when I've heard people say, I don't feel like an adult, even though I've done so many things, I still don't feel like an adult, and giving what I believe to have been solid reasons as to why. And even from a psychological standpoint, yeah, it makes sense, especially if you've never really been self-assured. You will never truly feel like you, at the very least, you have a handle on what you're doing. I was trying to say, I hope it may at least make you feel less of a failure and more just yeah, this happens. Sadly, it happens. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of whenever I post. And my next video is supposed to be on my spiritual path or my spiritual practice and what I have been doing with that. So I already have the outline done too, so I don't really have to think too much about it. Anyway, until then, Toki out.